There's been some problem with it got disconnected. I guess, yeah. Um, I guess you can hear me. Okay, I guess you can hear me. So, welcome all of you. Uh, so, you can see there are 12 people who have got connected. Um, um, so, welcome all of you. This is we're going to discuss. I want to just check something. If I were to load this, I'm on a laptop, and if I were to load this window, minimize it, and then in the meantime open some of the page, I was wondering whether you can still see me or hear me. Let me try doing that. I'm just lowering this page and opening up a Word file from which I want to read some passages. So let's see if it works. I guess minimizing the page, I hope it does not disconnect. I don't get disconnected when I do that. So I'm just lowering the page. Tell me if I get disconnected. Did I get disconnected when I lowered the page? Oh, great. Great. Thanks. So I can do that quite often then. Or do you get to... welcome all of you. I had given you 2 readings, and is Sataksi here on this thing today? Oh yeah, okay. Sataksi, I had sent you the readings, and I think one of the things I sent you was something which I hadn't mentioned in the last class, which is, I think, this essay on experience and poverty. That's what it's called. I don't know if others got that reading. Okay. So, Taksi, you didn't get my mail? I had replied to you giving those readings, or maybe you haven't yet passed it on to others. So, Taksi, did you get the mail? Yeah, so please circulate it, because you had asked it, and then I tell you about it, and then you don't circulate it. That's not good. So okay, so we'll discuss the inherent piece in the next class. Did you guys read this mechanical reproduction essay by Benjamin? I mean, you have all the time, I guess, with the corona. It's a corona time. Did you guys try to read the essay? Yeah, and it is, I don't know, because later after giving the essay, I thought, oh my God, you guys might just feel slightly, disoriented trying to connect with that essay. But, I think it's a bit like this. In between, I was looking at this, um, the some of the debates around again the Junger piece and the First World War experience. It turns out that there was another novel which was written around that time. It's called Quiet Flows the River or something. It's called, and that was just like a opposite to the Junger kind of novel, Reminiscences of the War, which was The Storm of Steel. And there was that Quiet Flows, the what is it called, Quiet Flows or something. It's a novel, but that is a classic anti-war novel, like pacifist movement and later part of the left movement and all of that. But that seems so, I didn't read the novel, but when I read around it or something, the anti-war camp, if you might want to call it that, seems to be quite quite on the surface, not really taking us there. There's something about the which eventually becomes fascism and all of that. But there's some kind of a power that kind of a what to kind of really narrow it down. It looks like a very parochial thing to do, to say Junger's position is a pro-war position. But if you were to do that, that kind of a pro-war position, and it has so much of that kind of a power, which somehow the pacifist position, showing the horrors of war and how the First World War was a period of irrationalism and how science and technology can create that kind of a destruction, the creation of a creation of the okay, Chinmoy. Yeah, I'm just reading your message. Um, uh, okay. Yeah. Chinmoy, yes. I want to do that. I also got stuck with this stuff here, with this thing, with this Corona thing. One of my relatives was stuck in the UK, blah blah blah. So I also got in all kinds of mess. But yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, so I'll do that. Yeah, and I think in the last video I titled it some like unki or hamari, not kahani, gana and all, something like that. It is a random thing, I don't know from where that came. But I think this time I titled it the age of the work of art, something more precise kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, what I was just saying, yeah, so because of that kind of a thing, what looks like a that the war experience was like a all embracing experience, and anyone who is like trying to define some other kind of a path, both in terms of talking about the very experience of war, in terms of the evils of war, in terms of how war is bad and all of that, somehow seem to be unable to cut the ice, like it doesn't like really take you that kind of a thing. It's like you watch a movie which has a very good noble-minded, very social justice kind of message, do good and everything, and yet the movie is not gripping, and you watch some other really stupid movie but it's really gripping and all, it's something like that. So the those who are for war and like talking about those kind of notions of um, which eventually leads to fascism and all of that. Some of that was like very, it was gripping, it really, it gets to your bones, it really cuts deep inside, and then you are so moved, and then, yeah, and then you get into something like that. So it's that kind of a scenario in which Benjamin is addressing this, and then so the essay which I forwarded to Sataksi, but you can read it, called Benjamin wrote an essay called Experience in Poverty. I think we can start with that today. And it is an essay written, I don't know, yeah, 30s. It's called Experience in Poverty. And so even if you don't have the essay, I think I have tried to have I yeah, I've tried to get a little some quotes from there for you. So one of the things, yeah, so in that essay called Experience in Poverty, Benjamin is talking about those people who come back from the war and what happens. He says that one he says that, and that is maybe in a different essay, where he says mankind can experience its own destruction. Something which I mentioned in the last lecture. Mankind can experience its own destruction as an aesthetic pleasure of the first order. Right? This is the situation of politics which fascism is rendering aesthetic. So that's one. But the more precisely on experience, he says that experience has, I mean, he's talking about the people who come back from the First World War. And well, they'll be talking about the war, this happened, that happened, and this is how we fought and everything, the experience. And he says that experience has fallen in value amid a generation which from 1914 to 1918 had to experience some of the most monstrous events in the history of the world. And then he says that for never has experience been contradicted more thoroughly. You see, experience itself has been contradicted, and experience, people have lost the ability to communicate their experience. They just couldn't talk about their experience. So that's a kind of a scenario. In fact, in that essay, Benjamin begins by saying, talks about, he refers to this little kind of an anecdote where he says how in childhood, we used to hear these stories. Our childhood anthologies used to contain the fable of the old man who, on his deathbed, fooled his sons into believing that there was treasure buried in the vineyard. They would only have to dig. They dug, but found no pleasure. When autumn came, however, the vineyard bore fruit like no other on the whole land. So they were trying to literally understand the father, that there is a treasure underneath the garden, underneath the vineyard. But when autumn comes, then there is so much fruits growing in that garden. But that's what he meant, right? They then perceived that their father had passed on a valuable piece of experience. The blessing lies in hard work. That is the message that the father is trying to convey to the children, but he is conveying it through his experience of that if you do hard work, you will get fruits. It's a bit like the kind of story that circulates in India, which is like, oh, there was these sons or children fighting with each other, and the father is about to die, and then the father says, son, go get one twig or stick, and then he says, you break it, and then he says, go get many sticks, and then you bundle them together, and then you try to break it and you can't. Then what is the lesson is unity, right? So that kind of a thing in which society transmits, well, not exactly knowledge, maybe it's wisdom through experience, where the elderly people talk about their give you knowledge which is not read somewhere, which is not picked up from somewhere, like an information, but it is coming from their experience. So he starts this essay by referring to that, and he talks about how experience and the ability to communicate experience itself is no longer happening in Germany at the time. That people who came back from the war, they have this experience of the war, but they cannot communicate it, or they will just go silent. Right. And that happens, if you have just come from maybe a major accident or something that you have seen, you come home and you do not immediately start blurting out what you saw. You are so shaken or something that you don't communicate at all. You'll just go quiet. So now that's the kind of thing that one imagines Benjamin has in mind. So then he says that this much is clear: experience has fallen in value amid a generation which from 1914 to 1918 had to experience some of the most monstrous events in the history of the world. Perhaps this is less remarkable than it appears. Wasn't it noticed at the time how many people returned from the front in silence? Not richer, but poorer in communicable experience, right? So he's really, really noticing that people who came back from the war, they are poorer in communicable experience, and so it's a yeah. So and then it says that what poured out from the flood of war books 10 years later, there was nothing remarkable about that. So even what came out in the war books later, no, There was nothing remarkable, because it felt like there is this inability to communicate the experience. For never has experience been contradicted more thoroughly. Experience itself has been contradicted. Strategic experience has been contravened by positional warfare. Economic experience by the inflation. Physical experience has been contradicted by hunger, that you are so much in hunger, pangs of hunger, that you do not really experience it. You are maybe willing to kill anyone to get a little bit of food, so you're not really, your experience is not really communicable, that kind of a thing through which you go, that kind of a pang of hunger, which might have happened, say, in famine time or something like that. That's again a very incommunicable experience. So physical experience has been substituted by hunger. Moral experience by ruling power. So there's nothing called like a moral position or morality based action. There's only ruling powers and power from above, from the state, which just comes and ramps down everything. And then it says how economic experience has been completely displaced by inflation. So there's that kind of runaway inflation, hyperinflation, that this entire idea of overall experience, it's like, when you are listening to maybe nice music or something, then okay, you are listening to it, you're experiencing it, but beyond a point, if you increase the volume like so much, then you're not experiencing that, then it's like again zilch, there's nothing going on, you're not experiencing anything. um a generation that had gone to school in horse-drawn streetcars now stood in the open air amid a landscape in which nothing was the same except the clouds, and at its center, look at this, in a force field of destructive torrents and explosions, the tiny, fragile human body. So, people who were in maybe a very tightly knit, dense community, that's how they spent their childhood, and they went to school on maybe horse driven carriages. Well, carriages sounds very elite. It's more like maybe horse drawn streetcars. That's what is written. That kind of a people now, in the course of war, where there's destruction and ruination everywhere, what how they are like a tiny fragile human body, under the clouds, and there's nothing around. In a force field of destructive torrents and explosions, the tiny fragile human body. So it looks like he's really talking about that kind of experience, which is like the 0 point of experience, where there's no storytelling, where experience does not get converted to storytelling, right? And later we will see that when Benjamin is addressing this, what should I say, this condition rather than a problem, it's an overall condition rather than a subjectively induced problem. We'll see that in this kind of a scenario, um, um, uh, um, he Junger is still able to narrate that. Don't forget that. Right? But in the kind of approach which Benjamin takes, it looks like that's the end of experience. That's like a whole of oblivion. That time that one spent in the war is like a whole. It's a whole of oblivion. A term which subsequently later Hannah Arendt will use in a very different context. Um, so hence Benjamin will look around to see how one can again experience. How is it possible to experience? That becomes a major question for Benjamin. The other thing is that Benjamin um, is trying to see that that's what the war did, but in terms of the larger material culture, the new kind of technology, the science, and the kind of ways in which people are relating to to culture and art, and not culture and art in a restricted sense, but the kind of mass culture which has emerged. There, he tries to find something which can maybe give rise to a new kind of experience. So, and there you will see that that he one of the things that we also mentioned earlier, that he's trying to see how you can actually the rise of the film as a medium, and how you have this mechanical kind of a reproduction of art, and how that allows you to, as it were, create a little fissure, a little gap in the denseness, in the kind of solidity of your material reality, and kind of insert something there, and get a different perspective, right? So it's like the what he talks about, the close up that a camera does, or the slow motion, where you can really focus on something in a very minute way. I'm reminded of some of these very popular videos on YouTube, where there's this guy who has just put this camera on this set of insects. I think it is, as I recently saw, where I think there is a some like a block of sugar or something, and how the ants would finish off, say, half kilo sugar. So you put the camera in a kind of a close-up thing, and yeah, so then it's just like the ants, and then you run that in slow motion, and then you really see how they're biting off the sugar or something. Has anyone seen that video? It's very popular. It has millions of views on YouTube, right? So you could and then what is happening is that, so once the no, I think he's, yeah, so he puts it on fast forward, right? Because that process of ants finishing off half kilo sugar must have taken like 12 hours. So you do this on a fast forward thing, time lapse, I think it's called. And then the same video is run backwards and forwards. Now, that's how you can take, say, organically concealed, because otherwise it's concealed. You cannot really see what exactly the ant is doing. But once you get it on camera, on video, or even better, if you can get it in a high resolution video, and then you can really break it down later and see, how you really they toss the sugar, and what is they kind of secrete some kind of a liquid at the tip of their those fillers that they have. All of that you can see. So you really kind of are able to enter this. Now that really excites Benjamin, right? So in one sense, it's like you're really going towards this ecstatic, trippy, transcendental experience, where what Benjamin thinks is the inability to experience anything, or inability to communicate what you can experience. That kind of a null point becomes precisely the basis on which one can get into that kind of a transcendental kind of existence, and that slowly leads you towards a particular way in which technology and humans relate, giving you fascism and Nazism and all of that. And there's a lot of attraction of that, and you get pulled by that. But it is as though against that there's an entire universe that one must discover now, you know and one of the ways then one does that with Benjamin is that he's really going that, I don't know, if all these people watching the millions of views that this kind of a video is getting, of ants finishing off sugar or something like that. Um, 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 I think it really Benjamin has really got that right. The power to really, where Benjamin, quoting Werthoff, talks about where you can interject the subjective soul into the material world. So let's keep that in mind then. that this is his attempt. Um, so right. um, uh, which means that he would take something. He would take something and stay with it. You know, um, you do not take something and immediately kind of build on that thing in a sense of representation, in the sense of the spirit of it, in the sense of the direction to which it is going to kind of transport you, but you want to stay with the material of it. There is a bodiliness to what Benjamin is attempting. So I think I mentioned some of it before in the last lecture. So let's look at the essay itself now, and there will be something. Then we can talk around some of the points there. So I will take you to this thing about, okay, so he talks about how you start reproducing a work of art. That's how he starts the essay. I will take you to page 222. This is the second section of the essay. If you can see, if you have the text in front of you, the first sentence is, even the most perfect reproduction of a work of art. That's how it starts. But you go on to the third para in the second in the, yeah, 1 2 3 into the fourth para of the second chapter. Can you see that? And there you see, one might generalize. Can you find it? Do some of you have the text in front of you? So, okay, let's assume some of you have the text. Okay, so in that, so Benjamin says, one might generalize by saying the technique of reproduction detaches the reproduced object from the domain of production. One might generalize by saying the technique of reproduction detaches the reproduced object from the domain of tradition, right? So, so when you are able to reproduce an object, you are displacing it from the place of its original creation. Where the thing was originally created. So you might take the famous example of the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa was painted by whoever painted it at whichever country, whichever society it came out of it. But when Mona Lisa started being commercially printed and it becomes, you can buy it, you can go to a footpath and you will see you can get a Mona Lisa poster and you paste it on a wall, so you are reproducing it. So when you are reproducing it, of course, the original place and time and the specificity of the cultural ethos, of the artistic trends out of which the Mona Lisa is coming out, gets completely that gets completely washed away, right? So what you see is that one might generalize by saying the technique of reproduction detaches the reproduced object from the domain of tradition, in which it is placed. By making many reproductions, it substitutes a plurality of copies for a unique existence. By making many reproductions, it substitutes a plurality of copies for a unique existence. I think we can understand that. And in permitting the reproduction to meet the beholder, and in permitting the reproduction to meet the beholder or listener in his own particular situation, it reactivates the object produced. So you see there are both things happening. One is like it is yanked out of that tradition, it is detached from that domain of tradition, but that doesn't mean it becomes a dead thing, because it then again gets reactivated in a different way. How does it get reactivated? Because now that reproduction, the reproduced object, that art object which is now reproduced, is able to meet the beholder and the listener in his particular situation, you know and hence in that new situation it again gets reactivated, the object gets reproduced. These two processes lead to a tremendous shattering of tradition. So not only that you get it out of the tradition, but you now give it a new meaning and a new shape and a new kind of a implication. These two processes lead to a tremendous shattering of tradition, which is the obverse of the contemporary crisis and renewal of mankind. Both processes of getting it out of tradition and then giving it a new meaning, activating a new kind of a meaning, both processes are intimately connected with the contemporary mass movements. And now watch out, the mass thing again comes. The masses are again back. Both processes are intimately connected with the contemporary mass movements. Their most powerful agent is the film, right? And why it is the film, you can now, by now I'm sure you get a very good sense of why it is the film that would convey this kind of a thing. Its social significance, particularly in its most positive form, is inconceivable without its destructive cathartic aspect, that is the liquidation of the traditional value of the cultural heritage. So that's what a film does. The medium of the film. At this point, I would say that I think we really need to figure this out here. What does the film do? Because also the film and the cinema is so close to us, because we are immersed in cinema, in films, in videos of all kinds circulating, floating, even when it is not a 3 hour or a 1.5 hour Hollywood, Bollywood cinema. It's like just all around the place. So, what does the medium of the film really do? And then I think we can really come to the claim that Benjamin is making about it. That this kind of a reproducibility, and then yanking it out of tradition, taking it to a different time and place, and then it gets reactivated again. I think we really need to just think about films as such, maybe also some of the films that we watch, and film as a mass entertainment phenomenon. You know so I think we need to come back to that. You can maybe even think of examples from the kind of from the kind of films that we watch. So I think we really need to also cover that. So and then I want to take you to section 3, section 3, which is the section after that, which is where he talks about the aura, right? The aura, as you know, is a very impenetrable thing, and he's he discusses the aura, and then he talks about the the contemporary medium of perception. What is the how do we really perceive? And then he says, there's this sentence, I don't know exactly where, he talks about changes in the medium of contemporary perception can be comprehended as the decay of aura of natural things. And then he talks about distance. you know so there's the sentence, which is the third chapter in the second para, which is page 222 in my book. I don't know what you are using, but if you look at the chapter 3, section 3, in the second para, then you see what it says. The concept of aura, which was proposed above with reference to historical objects, may usefully be illustrated with reference to the aura of natural ones. We define the aura of the latter, the natural ones, not the historical, this thing, like the way we say look at nature and all. We define the aura of the latter as the unique phenomenon of a distance, however close it may be. If while resting on a summer afternoon, you follow with your eyes a mountain range on the horizon, or a branch which casts its shadow over you, you experience the aura of those mountains, of that branch, right? So you look at a mountain, or there's a branch of a tree that you are looking at, or say a more easy example is, you imagine you are looking into the sea or on the beach, and then you experience the vastness of the ocean, of the sky, of the horizon. So the aura of that, there's something, you might say, something mysterious about it, which kind of casts a spell on you, and then you are overwhelmed by it, and then you love being there. That, when you explain that, Benjamin is saying, okay, that's part of it is distance. He's saying distance, the fact that there's a distance. So distance is important there. It's yeah. So you experience the aura of these mountains, of that branch. This image makes it easy to comprehend the social basis of the contemporary decay of the aura. This image, that kind of an image marked by distance, makes it easy to comprehend the social basis of the contemporary decay of the aura. It rests on two circumstances, both of which are related to the increasing significance of the masses. Again, the masses are there in contemporary life, namely the desire of contemporary masses. Look at this. Namely, the desire of contemporary masses to bring things closer. You want to possess it, right? You want to maybe take a picture of that scene, of that sea, of the beach, right? You want to possess it. Namely, the desire of contemporary masses to bring things closer, within quotes. So not like literally closer that you can like put it in a bag and bring it home or something, but you just take a picture, or maybe it's like you just keep it in your memory, and then you first thing you meet anyone, you just are ready to blurt out that, oh, I was in this nice beach and it was so nice and all of that. Even that is some kind of like bring it closer and trying to possess it. um, the desire of contemporary masses to bring things closer, spatially and humanly, which is just as ardent as their bent toward overcoming the uniqueness of every reality by accepting its reproduction. You see, what is this? Which is just as ardent. The urge to bring things closer, spatially and humanly, is just as ardent to their bent toward overcoming the uniqueness of every reality by accepting its reproduction. So they're very willing to accept its reproduction, which would mean overcoming the uniqueness of that point, of that experience. Every day the earth grows stronger to get hold. Every day the earth grows stronger to get hold of an object at very close range by way of its likeness, its reproduction. Unmistakably, reproduction is offered by picture magazines and newsreels. Unmistakably, production as offered by picture magazines and newsreels differs from the image seen by the unarmed eye. So, what does the unarmed eye do? I think unarmed means, I think, the bare eye, unmediated by anything, the actual experience, if you like. Um, uh, so, um, so the so the real experience, if there is something like that, the image seen by the unarmed eye, I think he's talking about that now. And then he says uniqueness and permanence are as closely linked in the latter, which is the real experience, unmediated by anything, the one related to the unarmed eye. In that, there's uniqueness and permanence are closely linked. In the latter, in it, as are transitoriness and reproducibility in the former. So on the one hand, you have what's that? You have the transitoriness and reproducibility, and the other hand, uniqueness and permanence. Right? Um, uh, to pry an object from the shell, to destroy its aura, is the mark of a perception whose sense of the universal equality of things has increased to such a degree that it extracts it even from a unique object by means of reproduction. Can you follow this? To pry an object from its shell, to destroy its aura. That's what's happening, no? In this, where you are able to do away with the distance, you are able to kind of, what is that? Capture it, trap it, and then reproduce it, and then take it somewhere and show it to somebody else back home. So when you are able to do that, then that's really about transitoriness and reproducibility rather than uniqueness and permanence. And then he says to pry an object from its shell, to destroy, so you're destroying its aura. That is the mark of a perception. That's a different kind of perception. So he's not really, I think, just saying it as a kind of a critique of, oh, how are we able to do this? How should we should not be doing this? We should just enjoy the thing at the moment and just experience it rather than take pictures. I don't think he's really saying that. He's not saying, oh, don't take selfies. I think he's open to that. Is Benjamin saying don't take selfies and just be this kind of very romantic, whatever, and just stay with the picture, experience the moment, Is he really saying that? I think he's open to using the camera all the time. You might be this kind of a really, always with your mobile phone, addicted to your camera. I don't think he minds that. And yet it feels like maybe he actually maybe he is trying to treasure some kind of a experiences aura, and I think that's the thing that we need to figure out. Where is Benjamin really placed, right? Yeah, and then he says, yeah, so when he says to pry an object from its shell to destroy its aura, it's a mark of a perception. Different kind of a perception, it's a different kind of a perception. whose sense of the universal equality of things has increased to such a degree. So it's like if you come from a beach or something, and then you get these pictures of the sea, then maybe you will say, oh no, but the year before that we were in some other beach, and then maybe you will compare, and then you will say, but oh no, my this other friend, they of course didn't go to the sea, they went to the mountains. So there's a kind of a universal equality of things. It is like a that's why he's put this in quotes. So there's this the sense of perception is such that I think what you're really looking for is you're looking for some kind of a equality. It's like, you buy a car, okay, maybe partly because you really need it because of its use value, but maybe because you want to also show that, come on, you can also own a car, right? And that dimension will again create this universal sense of equality, this reproducibility. So that's why he's saying to pry an object from its shell to destroy its aura is the mark of a perception whose sense of the universal equality of things, whose sense, this word sense here, right? It's very advisedly used here. Sense as in, the sensory perceptions. So we are sensorily tuned or attuned to really seeing things in a particular way that we will try to create an equivalence between different, completely disparate things, whose sense of the universal equality of things has increased to such a degree that it extracts it even from a unique object by means of reproduction. So at one level, it even feels like the reproduction is not just like through really just a camera or some kind of a mechanical device, but in your mind, you are psychically also reproducing it all the time and killing its uniqueness and destroying its aura. Thus is manifested in the field of perception what in the theoretical sphere is noticeable in the increasing importance of statistics. Thus is manifested in the field of perception. The way you perceive things, the way you look at nature, the way you look at the garden, the way you look at a new dress which you're about to buy, your very perception, the way you lovingly look at your dear ones, the way you look at a nice flower or a little dog or something, your very sense of perception, your field of perception, thus is manifested in the field of perception what in the theoretical sphere. So your perception is actually equivalent to what in the theoretical sphere is noticeable in the increasing importance of statistics. It's a statistical number, right? That's where the equality and the equivalence comes. The statistics, just a number. Adjustment of reality to the masses. You see what is this term? Look at this, the adjustment of reality to the masses. So if this is what the masses are into, the reality have to adjust it to be that, to that, and of the masses to reality. The new kind of technology, the new kind of ways of relating to the non-human world, right? That's what technology is. And of the masses to reality is a process of unlimited scope, as though for thinking, as much for thinking as for perception. So I guess yeah, so that's a lot for us to mull over there. That's a lot for us to mull over there. And you should mull over it. But the thing also to keep in mind is whether so this destruction of aura, this massification, this thing where the sense of perception becomes equivalent to a statistical notion of equality, of equivalence. It is a Or doesn't look at it, you know? I mean, what is he trying to suggest? That the Hungarian, that entire transcendence and transcendence is there, technological transcendence, the exultant anarchy. And then in the same period in Germany, you have this kind of a sense of perception, this kind of a massification, this kind of a technological culture that is going on. You see, with the cinema, people are already going in droves and watching cinema, right? It's not just like an exclusive artistic thing. The masses are watching all these movies, they are consuming it. The Nazis themselves make a lot of cinema, and one of the important films that they make is called The Triumph of the Will, and Hitler himself has commissioned it, and that film is watched by millions. I think, in some senses, cinema is more popular then than now. So the aura is gone, and there's this entire transitoriness. There's this reproducibility, but it's in the same period, though, that it feels like the masses, instead of really, because it's an entire process of democratization, you might say, the aura as a whole, that spell is splintered, but all these possibilities are opened up, where, that term that he uses called reactivated, right? Where there are new energy which is reactivated. So maybe the masses, if they were to go to the beach without any kind of ability to capture it as a picture, or without any ability to really reduce it to that kind of a universal equality of things, then maybe the masses would not have been so interested in the beach, right? They will say, what is there? This is the beach, there's nothing here, and I can't even go back home and show it and like really flaunt it to people. So in itself, that's not a great thing, that's that natural kind of aura is maybe not really loved by the masses. In fact, I can give you so many examples, where the kind of, there's a mass kind of sensory perception which says that no, but there is nothing in this nature. I mean, okay, if you go to Goa, you can talk to the local Goans, and they will say, oh, we don't care for this beach. This is nothing. We are bored of this beach. Why do you guys come here? Well, that you might say is because they are already from there, and that's why they don't care. But I have this experience in Delhi where, this is like, if you go to some of those monuments and all of that, which is maybe covered by, in the middle of, say, Lodi Gardens or something, a guy who comes from a village, he says, why are all these Delhi people going to Lodi Gardens among all those monuments and among all those huge trees? He said, oh, you should just go to the mall. Why go to nature? Why go to all these, grasslands and all these jhadi jungle and all this pahadi? What is there in the pahadi? Because the fellow said, हमारे गांव में इतना पहाड़ी है कि हम तो तंग आ गए, हमको तो बस कंक्रीट चाहिए, हमें तो मार्बल फ्लोर चाहिए, हमें तो टाइल्स चाहिए, हमें तो मॉल में रहना है, वहीं सोना है, हम तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है वहां पे, झाड़ी जंगल देखने से बेकार लगता है. That's why there's also this thing in India where everybody wants to cover, the garden or whatever, the mitti, with concrete लगा दो हर जगह, right? That's against the reproducibility. So what happens is that, and there's a precise point here, don't get distracted by this example, because Benjamin is saying that once that aura is gone, it's not that the thing is dead, it gets reactivated, right? It gets reactivated. So in a situation in Germany, then, if you reactivate it, means the masses get really invested into it. So not just the transcendence of the war, but he feels like there is a new technological material culture which is emerging, where the masses need not actually go in that direction, but they can actually kind of get really invested into these kind of things, which the material culture is offering them. um, and earlier I talked about also the collective laughter. you know I mean, Benjamin is walking through the city, he's going into the small towns, and then he's trying to look at the everyday life and culture of the people, and then really trying to see what are the sources, what are the resources, which also creates that kind of intense psychic investment, which does not go take you towards war and fascism, but takes you in the other direction. So you'll talk about gambling, as I told you earlier. He's talking about laughter. He's talking about circus. He's talking about just roaming around the city, being a flâneer. All kinds of things that he thinks will open up this new psychic investment at the level of mass culture. Um, so there is this thing that he does, that is, I think, in this little essay he wrote on photography, where he takes this. Let me see if I can find that. Uh, yeah, very. This is an essay he wrote in 1931 called "The Little History of Photography." It talks about this picture photo which was taken uh, by this photographer. Let me see if I can share it here. I'm trying to see if I can share this. No, it doesn't go here. What is this? Okay, so there's this picture. Let me see if I can share it with you. By this, hold on. Uh, so if you open that, then you will see this picture. And and Benjamin has something to say on this picture. Um, so it is just like a slice of life, picture. There's no um, and uh, and there's no kind of a narrative or something. It is just a little lane or some portion of a of the city, and it's just a quiet road or something. Then it says this Adjay, the photographer, Benjamin says he looked for what was unremarked or forgotten, cast adrift, and thus such pictures work against the exotic, romantically sonorous names of the cities. They suck the aura out of reality. He says these kind of pictures, which are just like still pictures, and they are not trying to show it as part of any kind of flow of the city, like as though they just are like a still picture. So they suck the aura out of reality. It's not like any festival is going on. There's no one. It's just like it's just existing. It's just there. And Benjamin really likes this. You know, he's really quite taken in by this picture and that kind of a photography. Right. So the other thing I want to draw your attention to is in section. So that's the decay of the aura. In section 4, go to page 224. In section 4, where he talks about 224, I think, where is it? Yeah, where he talks about how the question of authenticity, that the thing is authentic, and he draws a link between the work of art being authentic and ritual. What is ritual? Um, Section 7, where he's also referring. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, Aditi, yeah, this is the uh, th- I don't know whether this is exactly I think this is the picture, but similar pictures like this. Yeah, so that's the thing. Yeah, that's right. So that's section 7. There's a adj this thing. Um, okay, so let's go to the next section, which is section 4, Aditi, where he's talking about in the second, well, yeah, the first para in section 4, where he's talking about, in other words, the unique nature, the unique value of the authentic work of art has its basis in ritual, the location of its original use value. So, what does it mean to say authenticity? Is there some connection between authenticity and ritual? Um, to me, it looks like maybe the better way is to think about first think about ritual and then think about whether that ritual is authentic or not, rather than being authentic and then is something which is authentic is whether it has ritual or not. So when you do rituals, when you are told that you have to do this, like you may not really respect your grandfather, but you have to touch his feet. That's a ritual. Or you have to do this ritual of worshiping or praying, or it could also be more secular rituals. So there is something impervious about ritual, that you cannot really try to rationally explain it. You just have to do it. Just do it. It's a ritual, it's a family tradition, you've got to do it. And so there is something authentic about it. It's a bit like the The story from the father to the sons, you go and collect all the sticks and bring it here, or the father who is about to die, when says there's a treasure underneath the garden. uh, there is something like an authentic experience underlying that anecdote, underlying that advice, underlying that wisdom which the father is sharing. And the experience is from long years. He has seen that ultimately you have to do hard work, and if you put some work, then Mother Earth will give you fruits of the earth. So there's something authentic about it, and then you cannot be challenging. You can't say, "Oh, my father, when he was dying, he told me a lie. There was no treasure there. I got it really excavated and dug by the archaeological survey and everyone. There was no gold. There was no, granite under the garden." No, you can't be saying that. So there is something authentic about that experience which you cannot analytically parse. You cannot analytically disentangle to see what are the different constituent elements, kind of thing. So authenticity and ritual, yeah. Authenticity and ritual has that connection. uh, but if the work of art is connected in that way, through authenticity, and then it becomes a ritual, then what happens as compared to the work of art which can be reproduced, which can be shifted from one place to the other, and the ritual is not there? There's no ritual around it, you know. So what happens? And I think this paragraph really addresses that. Uh, but the instant in the same para, I think towards the end it says, no, in the second para, in the same page, which is the last para of the chapter 4. But the instant the criterion of authenticity ceases to be applicable to artistic production, the total function of art is reversed. Instead of being based on ritual, it begins to be based on another practice, on politics. Finally, you have politics here. So the instant the criterion of authenticity ceases to be applicable to artistic production, the total function of art is reversed. The total function. Otherwise, art had that kind of a total function. Are you able to see the difference here? When you use just the term total function, the total is used as against the analytical, right? There is in this mechanical reproduction of art, in the reproducibility, in the reactivation that the masses will subject art to, right? In all of that, there is a analytical dimension where you really disentangle it. You can really make it then equivalent to something else, right? So the authenticity, that uniqueness, that originality, and almost like a sacredness. I do not know whether Benjamin wants to use the term sacred. It's almost like something sacred. And then you have that as something very ritualistic. So as against that, as against this ritualization of art, he is talking about art which would be based on another practice, and that is politics. So, okay, so we have come thus far, and there's so much to unpack here, and we can do that. I want to know whether everybody is fine here. Everybody is like on the. Are we? People are getting it. I'm just um, so not sure about it today for some reason. That I want to go slightly slowly here. So please convey your what you're thinking right now. You can write it down there. Um, um, so to remind you, what we have seen is that we've talked about how once the artwork becomes it's like in plural copies. It's like no longer having a unique existence, and then through reproduction it is able to meet the beholder or the listener in his own particular situation, and then it reactivates the object reproduced, right? So these things will lead to a shattering of tradition, right? And this shattering of tradition is intimately connected with the contemporary mass movements, the rise of the masses, and and the and the technique which is most um, close to this sensibility, this new perception of the masses, is the medium of the film, right? Um, so which liquidates the traditional value of the cultural heritage, you know. So which means that one can really, instead of some authentic, glorious, larger than life thing being represented in that work of art, which kind of towers over you, you are able to, at each moment, put in your own soul in it. You are able to add your own interpretation to it. It feels like a much more democratized society. It's like you are able to. There's a positive feedback loop or something. When the government says, "Okay, I want to hear from the people. I want to do man ki baat," like I want to do a real connect with the masses kind of a thing, right? And the man ki baat is such a mass thing, right? It's really like, of course, then we know why it is not a mass thing, even though, but that appeal to the masses is very much there. Of course, that's called populism. Would you please explain the reversibility of the function of art with some example? Reversibility of the function of art. What is this reversibility, Ishita? What is this reversibility you are mentioning? Where is this? Um, that's the um, oh, the fact that it can be reversed. Are you talking about that it can be reversed and and it need not necessarily be going in the direction of fascism? Is that what you mean by that, or is there a particular thing you are mentioning from the text? um, Others can also, you know throw some questions. The last lines of section 4. Okay. But the instant the criterion of authenticity ceases to be applicable to artistic production, the total function of art is reversed. Yeah. First, did you get this notion of total function of art? Um, I was trying to, yeah, I was trying to think of these examples that um, where you, where you, um, um, I don't know, like you're talking about examples, say, um, um, that there's a, where there's no, you're not analytically splicing it, right? You are just, it's something sacred, it's something holy, it's something you can only pray to. You are not part of it even. You are just so there's a I don't know. Like today, maybe you think of the internet as a totalizing thing. Um, I mean, there's no, you can't maintain a distance from it. You cannot reflect on it. You cannot you cannot check whether you want to be part of it or not, right? Because it's like air. We are not right now aware, conscious that we are breathing, and yet we are breathing. There's this entire totalizing sense. But air is maybe totalizing, like it's like totalization from below kind of a thing. But think of the totalization from above or something like that, right? So where you're part of this larger flow. It's like the law of karma or something like that, right? That's like totalizing. Nobody's exempt from it. But then you want to know, but why would Walter Benjamin talk about art as totalizing phenomena in this context? But that's where the specificity of the German situation lies. That there were these images, that imagery created at this time of nation, of the great German people, which this entire narrative that was created, which was not to be analytically kind of really seen for what it is. You can't do this class caste kind of, you can't splice it, you can't dissect it, It is just something, and it's like a wave, and you're just part of it, and you just go, you just fight for your country, you just are just part of it. It's just given to you from before. And that's where, the what I mentioned in the last class, the laughter comes, the fool, the joker, the buffoon. What is that? The emperor is naked, there are no clothes. Who will say it? And then you will have a little buffoon who will come and say it, others can't say it. So that's where, I mean, I have my own views in this, but that's what is going on here. So Walter Benjamin is talking about what he calls the aestheticization of politics. This is what he's saying is going on with fascism, and against that, he is talking about art as politics. So not really. So the aestheticization of politics is totalizing in that sense of the aura, in the sense of the uniqueness, and all of that. And so he's challenging that by talking about how there is a different practice possible of politics, how art in this sense. So at one level, it looks like maybe he is having a kind of a romantic critique. You can do a romantic critique of these new forms, and you might say, no, let's really go for the authentic. Why should one really? So you might want to ask whether Benjamin is praising this mechanical reproduction. You know, is he doing that? Why isn't he going for the authentic? What is the problem in the authentic? That seems something good. There's something authentic and original that you are going for. Or is he celebrating this kind of a contingent situation, this kind of a situation where everything is broken into so many different parts, and then you can really like the like the camera, which will give you different perspectives. So it feels like Benjamin is really opening us to too much of contingency, too much of multiplicity, too much of plurality, too much of a dispersal, too much of a fragmentation. Maybe do we call it fragmentation? Right? It looks like that. But then, of course, there are other writings of Benjamin from where we can come, and then we see the picture is slightly different. Right? Yeah, anything else? um I'm reminded of this. I'm reminded of this film. I do not know what it was. You might have seen it. I'm just opening it up here now. This movie, I think it was on some American SEAL who fights in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then he comes back to his family, or maybe it is Hurt Locker. Maybe it could be Hurt Locker, or one of those films. And there's so many of such films from Hollywood. So he comes back to his family, and then he's okay taking care of his kid, his wife, and then he goes to the supermarket, to the mall, to do some shopping and all. And then he sees some scene, where whatever people are kind of generally mean on the road, or towards the fellow customers, like towards the fellow, I mean, particularly in coronavirus days today. You can imagine, you want to get all the what is that called, the toilet roll or something like that, sanitary things, right? And you don't want anybody else. So he sees this kind of people fighting with each other, such mean people, and then he suddenly thinks, oh, this is the kind of people I am defending, by fighting in the war and about to give my life and all. So he comes home, and then he's not talking, and then his wife is constantly trying to figure out why you are not talking. And then she discusses with others. Maybe he has this PTSD or something, post-traumatic something syndrome, like, because we have seen some crazy scenes in war or something like that. So it feels like one is the his experience, which is incommunicable, which cannot be converted into a story, which cannot be just shared with friends over a drink, but which is eating him up, maybe, you know right? On the one hand, now how does one conceptualize that kind of an experience, or can we? On the other hand is this everyday life, where he maybe goes to the mall, maybe he will take his kid and go watch a circus, and then he's laughing, and he just has to be light now. He has to forget this is not a war zone. He's with his family. And that's where it looks like, I mean, can one make much of this everyday life, like, where everything, you can be funny, you can have a different perspective, there's sense in which this everydayness, in that you can really go to, like, really be funny and like look at things in a different way, and be funny, so the kid will make the father be a horse or something, and the kid will climb on top, all kinds of defamiliarization, which the avant-garde is talking about, is quite possible there, So at one level, it's just that that we are dealing with here in the Germany of the 30s, which is still there today. When we talk about, I do not know, Captain Abhinandan or something, what really happened at that moment when he was like his plane was collapsing from the sky. I don't think we get narratives of that. What we see is that, okay, he's already fallen, and will Pakistan hand over him or not? Like the more bureaucratic, official kind of a things. So it looks like the mechanical reproduction and the possibility where the masses can reinvest themselves and their psychic feelings into the different aspects of material reality, that seems at one level very pedestrian, right? Um, Compared to this other experience, which is not even narratable, which you cannot even convert it into a story. And don't forget, Hannah Arendt in a different thing, when after the Holocaust, when there are these trials that are taking place, the trials of Eichmann and other trials that happened in Israel, and Hannah Arendt herself was present there. And Hannah Arendt, she would say that we cannot really, to get a real sense of what happened in the Holocaust, we cannot really go by the testimonies of the people who actually faced the horrors of the Holocaust. Why do you think Hannah Arendt would think that the testimonies of the people who actually were victims, who faced the gas chambers, I mean, okay, the ones who, you know, did not die there, they lived to recount it. And she said, because they would constantly give this kind of a thing that, but you never experienced that, to the listeners, but you never experienced that. You are not even qualified to listen to my experience. You see, you're not even qualified to listen to my experience. So, and that thing created an incommunicability, right? You see, so when you are trying to, and that's where Hannah Arendt, I think, that really reinforced a belief that you really need this separate sphere of appearance of freedom or something like that, because that kind of a totalizing thing, where all these experiences, be it from the mechanical reproduction or be it from this incommunicable experience of war, which will now also feed into politics, the thing that Benjamin is imagining, or Marxists would imagine, maybe for Hannah Arendt, that is really like stretching things too far, and things that are not even stretchable. So the actual testimonies of the Holocaust survivors are not what you want to go by when it comes to your assessment of the Holocaust. So I think this is what is really going on here. The untranslatability of experience, I want to put a question mark there. And on the other hand, the material kind of, the reproduction part, the cinema, the Fournier being is also valorizing distraction. He's valorizing laughter. He's valorizing, even, I think I mentioned in the earlier class, gambling. What is it about gambling? What is it about gambling? Can anyone tell me on gambling? Why is Benjamin fascinated by gambling here? What's your take on gambling? So he's picking on all these things. I mean, at one level, gambling or circus and these kind of things are popular things, right? This is where the masses are. That's what mass culture is all about. You want to focus and say the riots in Delhi, in Northeast Delhi, and you know what? There are gangs. These guys who used guns there, they're part of gangs, and they always use guns. What happens when you have a gun? I don't have a gun. You don't have a gun. But at a popular level, when you go to those kind of areas, there are guns. And Benjamin would say, okay, now let's look at that. Masses are invested into it. You know, you don't want to talk about it. You know, yeah, but art form in what sense? You know, so what is going on? What is precise there? What is Benjamin getting there? What is he kind of getting out of there? What is he seeing there? Maybe I touched on it in the last class. I don't remember. I'm asking you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Okay, now let's get serious here. Benjamin used to go into all kinds of uh, the desire to reproduce a favorable outcome. Oh, yes, lovely. Yeah, the desire to reproduce a favorable. Yeah, and that desire to produce a favorable outcome that keeps you on the edge. When you gamble, I don't know if you guys have gambled. I've like done a little bit, not much, and then you put your money somewhere, and then that thing that you're waiting, whether okay, maybe if you bought some lotteries, that will also you will get, but gambling is more serious than that, I think. And then that keeps you on the edge, and then you're totally hooked. You are like, okay, right, will I get it? And I think somewhere Benjamin says that it's not just about winning, but to see whether you will win or something like that. So um, 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 so on so you will see he's really like trying to see all of this, right. uh, um, so that's what's going on here. There is a there's a um, I mean, okay, so okay, let's put it this way. Because Benjamin is focusing on the mechanical reproduction, because as we know that Benjamin is talking about, say, Charlie Chaplin. um yeah, yeah, Charlie Chaplin, and all these, he's talking montage, all the things that we talked about earlier. The mechanical in it, in mechanical reproduction, at one level is actually really mechanical. So in the mechanical, what happens, unlike the digital or the electrical, which is a flow, like in electricity, what happens, like there's a constant flow of charge, that you switch on the light, and then there's a bulb and it glows like this. There's a constant flow of the charge, and there's a constant glow of the bulb. In the mechanical thing, like this, it's like it's discrete movements, right? You can break it into different parts, right? Also, there is that spurt. So what you were saying, Devavati, about the when you really want to produce a favorable condition, but he's also I think it's getting disconnected in parts. So Benjamin is in the course of gambling. The gambler is also experiencing, or let's say, gambling generates what looks like a motor mechanical kind of a jerk, you know like a certain sport, like you suddenly you've been bitten by a by an insect or something, and you were like, boom, just like jump out of the chair or something like that. That kind of a thing, a rush of energy that puts you on a high, but extremely bodily. And that's where Charles Baudelaire comes, right? You check if the spelling is correct. Charles Baudelaire comes. The bodily thing becomes important. So the mechanical uh, is really mechanical in that sense. Mechanical is really mechanical. That certain jerky movement, it's like, when okay, guys, look, listen to this. Like the train is in the platform, and the engine comes and like वो जुड़ता है ना उसके साथ, and then धक्का लगता है ऐसा. Now, why on earth would Benjamin be? I mean, not Benjamin, the authors also at this time would be interested in this. It looks kind of bizarre today, to talk about these kind of things. I mean, that's why this is talked about usually in very high art circles. So you have people have converted these kind of things of Benjamin into this high artistic community, some kind of a real alternative scene and all. But I think we should resist that. Sandra, gambling is a very addictive game. At the same time, a material activity, both desire and money is involved here. Oh, Sandra, you see, you something interesting happened here. She's retracted it, but reading her message, I already got that mechanical boost. Right? So that's the thing where you get that sudden jerk movement. And we are also discovering new functions here, Sandra. It's written message retracted from you, but we know that there's a thing, that kind of a option feature here. So, but that's the sudden this thing. So the desire, I know both Sandra and Devavati, used the term desire. I think the term desire, yeah, yeah, the desire seems like, I hope you guys are not using desire as like a longing or a pining. It's not that, right? It is more like it's very bodily felt thing. That's what Benjamin is trying to emphasize. In fact, he uses a term. Let me see if I can get that term here. He uses the term. It's like a. It's about the. Oh no, man. Yeah, he talks about the bodily presence of mind. What kind of presence of mind? Bodily. The bodily presence of mind. It's like you think with your body or something like that, right? It's like it's so tactile. And that's why, you have this whole range of, okay, I do not know, man. I am reminded of Manto, Sadat Hassan Manto. Why? Because gamblers, pickpockets, well, today we call them sex workers, prostitutes, brothels. Monto is, I'm told, and I read that he used to go to brothels and that kind of the underbelly of the city. And there's this world of dons and you know smugglers and the underbelly of the city. And now what Sandra you might want to call not really the proletariat, but maybe the lumpen proletariat. There's this sense of the lumpen proletariat here, which is extremely hands-on, right? And they are semi-legal. Okay, now that would be taking too far. But Partha Chatterjee's political society. Now that's really stretching too far. But I'm just giving it as a kind of just to focus your mind. Mentions the desire of contemporary masses to bring. Okay, yeah, the desire of contemporary. How is that? Yeah, that's not a bodily. Yeah, that's not a bodily desire. Yeah, you're right. The desire of contemporary masses to bring things closer. Yeah, but whenever he's more precise with the term desire, it's mostly the bodily aspect which becomes important. Here, I think he's focusing on. I think the critical word here is not desire, right? So hence, maybe you don't want to read too much into this particular uses of desire. It's more about because you see, even the masses want to bring things closer and have it for yourself or something. Even this is very well, maybe not bodily. It may be bodily felt, but this is also very uh, mechanical, consumeristic. Yeah, but yeah. So that's the thing. Um, um, uh, Spatially, use this spatially. Um, yeah, spatially, definitely. Once you bring spatially and desire together, yeah, it becomes very bodily. Then that's true. Uh, yeah, that's true. When you bring in the spatial, the space thing, that's a very this thing. So yeah. So my sense is that let us we've done till this fourth one, till the politics thing. There are some more sections. My sense is that we'll take a break today and not take a long gap and then come back to the rest of the sections. And I want to finish this Benjamin part by this week, so that we can really move on this thing, so my suggestion is that I want you to go back to it again, and then we can have another class without a long gap in 2 days time, and then we'll finish this, because I want to move on now, because to a large extent we are still moving around in the Hunger avant-garde thing, and I want to bring in a third perspective here. How is gambling related to capitalism? uh-huh. uh, uh, I think Tribhuvan, is that a name? I think let's stay with the with gambling itself. Like, what is gambling? What are the psychic states you go through when you gamble? It's like a question like, what does carrying a gun do to you? Compared to carrying a pen. You carry a pen, what happens to you? You carry a gun, what happens to you? Anshuman, yeah. I think this is, I think what is going on here really, okay, let's put it this way, and this is what I think you need to do, mull over for the next class, which is that, uh, you know, urban societies, and don't forget, Benjamin is a very urban guy, right? He wrote the Arcades project, mostly Paris city, the high city where you see hunger, you see wealth, you see rich, you see poor, you see all kinds of complexities, you see different things, like the city is like a there's everything in a city. Take a city like Delhi, take a city like Bombay, take a city like Calcutta, you know, City of Joy, somebody wrote a book in Calcutta. Mother Teresa came and like she saw, I don't know, whatever, poverty or something like that. You can also get a spiritual high in a city. I remember the scene, Howrah station. You climb on top of that Howrah station building and you look towards the Hooghly Bridge. And then the sea of humanity that you see, mostly people are like carrying those little things on their head and like crossing the Hooghly River on foot, you know. Or you go on the steps of the Jama Masjid, or you go into those little gullies. What all you see. Now, not just like you go into those as like a tourist or something like that. No, one is talking about the actual pickpocket, the actual gambler, the actual street kid who is extremely corrupted and who does drugs and all that. You are talking about the working class, which is not the Maruti working class, which goes wearing a nice clean uniform. No, we are talking about the underbelly of the city. Now, following Baudelaire, Benjamin is really looking at mass culture in that sense. You know, so mass culture. And let me refer to you to this guy. When I recently went to the Northeast Delhi riot scenes, I discovered this guy called Techno Khan. Okay, Techno. Have you guys heard of Techno Khan? Who is Techno Khan? I'll introduce you to Techno Khan. Techno Khan, he's a guy, he's very popular, he has lots and lots of followers. And I discovered this guy. I will just sending you this random thing. So this guy is called Techno Khan. What is his story? What happens with Techno Khan? So what does this guy do? In that video, as you can see, what did you see? It's funny. You can you can install a exhaust in your car or something. What's the story of this guy? First, just look at him. See, if you buy a new car, a new bike, you go to him. And Techno Khan will jazz it up. You want to change the color, you want to make it look very cool, funky, very tacky, the kind of things these neighborhood boys do, and then they roam around in their fancy looking bikes and they color their hair and they do TikTok. I will tell you a story of TikTok Khan. When the riots happened in Delhi, his shop was burnt and he has lakhs of followers. Those kind of people. He's an underbelly guy. But maybe, yeah, remodeling. Yeah, he does remodeling, of your cars and this, that, and the other. But he's very popular among a particular kind of city youth. No, maybe not among you and me, but with certain people, he's very popular. So his shop is burnt in the riots. And then when his shop is burnt, that precisely that shop where a lot of people, Hindu people, Muslim people, Hindutva people, anti-Hindutva, no, maybe not so much anti-Hindutva people, but like normal, whatever, mainstream people are going there. He puts out a video on the riots. And how does he look at it, But well, if you say, how does he look at the riots, that again, we are going to a political ideological domain. But is this kind of a guy, you know, Benjamin is someone would be really interested in that. So experience becomes very important. That's why gambling becomes important. Gangs become very important. And you can see in Germany at this time, it is precisely this kind of average people, popular people, who are getting into fascism, who becomes fascists. This kind of people, you know. So he's interested in that. He's really interested in that. So hence the question then that is posed is that, so when you are talking about, say, okay, how is gambling related to capitalism, we want to stay with what is gambling itself and what is the experience and what are the um, whether it is desire, whether these kind of things that in which he's breaking down gambling, where we're about to win and then it keeps you on the edge, and what are the kind of psychic movements that are going inside of you. This is where Benjamin wants to keep you. Similarly about laughter, similarly about Chaplin. So when he is then talking about the mechanical reproducibility of the work of art, he is talking about a form of life which we are inhabiting today, which, because it is reproducible, it can be really parsed and it can really be seen in terms of, analytically, it can be seen in terms of what are the psychic investments that are there, not in a totalizing sense, as though this entire thing is part of some kind of a larger macro level teleological movement, but in a very micro kind of a sense of how you can really see it in a disentangled manner, right? In a disentangled manner, in a where you have dissected it. And he's really trying to, in that sense, really go into the nooks and crannies, and that's where again, the movie camera can do that, film can do that. The film will just stay, as I told you about that YouTube video, with just stay with this, all these insects are eating up this cube of sugar, and then there's this camera, just this thing, looking at it, and then you run it in a time lapse or you slow motion, and then you do a reverse thing, and then you see the entire thing, or how a butterfly is born out of a caterpillar. Now with the camera, you can really do a close up there. You can do a slow motion there. That kind of a thing. So please read up on this. We will do a class day after tomorrow and finish this. And please come prepared with all these things. I'll try to put up this video in that way, so that you can watch it again. And then let's do a class day after itself and wrap this up. And then the other reading is, of course, the experience and poverty. Along with this, Is was there a third thing also, Sataksi? Did I mention a third? Yeah, yeah. Was there a third reading, Sataksi? No, that's all. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, those two. Yeah, yeah. So experience and poverty. That's a kind of a, yeah, yeah. Then it's Hannah Arendt. Yeah. So let's finish this and then we'll get to Hannah Arendt. Um, and uh, yeah, good. Yeah, Shane. Yeah, good, good. Um, uh, so. But you see, this is what, and this is where Hannah Arendt will like then take off somewhere else, right? Because, and this is something which we want to think about, we whether we can actually, what Benjamin is, the direction in which he's going. You see, in a way, if you take a Hannah Arendt kind of an approach, then the problem is kind of simpler then, So even though Benjamin is critiquing the totalizing thing, the total, what is that? The art as a totality kind of a thing. He also seems to be trying to kind of have an approach which kind of interconnects everything, sensory experiences, bodily experiences, the mechanical movements, technology, perception, everything into a kind of a politics. So not the aestheticization of politics, because you see what is happening you see the term aestheticization of politics. Aestheticization of politics. It's an important term, and a lot of people later started using this term for the rise of postmodernism. So, for example, if somebody says, "What is postmodernism?" you can say, "Okay, postmodernism means aestheticization of politics, whatever that means." But this is from where from this debate, this notion is coming: the aestheticization of politics. When politics gets aestheticized, um, um, So I mentioned this film called, one good example of the aestheticization of politics. This is a film. So please watch this film. Clapping. Wow. Okay, the thali, the clapping of the thali. Yeah, man, this clapping of the thali. It's just what should I say? um, um, yeah, we'll come to the thali and the clapping. Yeah. So please watch this film. So that's the what Benjamin is saying in that fourth section. I think it was the fourth section where he's talking about the art as ritual. So the aestheticized politics and the art as ritual, so that's the thing that is challenging. And a very good example of this thing is of aestheticization of politics is this film, Triumph of the Will. So can someone make a little presentation in the next gathering, next session, on this Triumph of the Will? Shane, can you give us a few remarks at the opening in the next class? Please watch this film and just give us a couple of minutes. You can just make a little presentation. Watch it; it's available in YouTube, and it's a very very powerful film. This is a film which Hitler himself had proposed. So this is in the history of fascism, Nazism. Sandra, do you want to do this? Sandra and Shane, on this. I don't know whether Sandra is here. Um, Still here, I mean. So this is a very very important film. If you want to understand whatever fascism, Nazism, all of that, then well, you can make a um, uh, well, we'll see. We'll find a this thing. Um, um, just do a little, like, write two paras, and then we can flash it here, and then I can take it from there. Um, just maybe write two paras on it, and then yeah, Sandra. So just write two paras on this. I mean, watch it first. Okay, whatever. First watch it. Please watch it, and then maybe you can be my interlocutors, in the next class. um, so so watch this film. It's a very very important film. I think she lived on this director, Leni. She lived on, I think, even after fascism and Second World War and all of that, so that she could later, even, like, whatever. I don't think she ever apologized for making a film like that, but that is a very very crucial film that you have there. uh, that kind of a thing. uh, so yeah, maybe write a para or so, and then you can share it here. Can see, and then we can all, like, focus on it here. Huh? So let's do that. So which means that, Shane, we are looking at um, the 25th, Wednesday. Can we have a class in the afternoon, Wednesday? Today is Monday, day after. Yeah, so let's do that. So we'll have a class then on Wednesday. We don't want to lose the momentum, because these kind of things, it's like we need a momentum, and then we can really finish it. Otherwise, it feels like these are particular kind of texts that we have to we can't just linger around it. We have to really be into it, really get into the text, and just move on. So let's do that then. um, uh, is Ritesh there? Ritesh or Hitesh tha na? Hitesh kahan hai? Is Hitesh here? Acha, maybe Hitesh is not here. So I don't know. I mean, is everyone able to really come to this live, whatever this is, live broadcast, live class? Or are people having technical problems? Are others getting excluded or something? Anyone has any idea? So if there's any, I hope there are no technical issues. Okay, okay, okay. ठीक है. I'll save this video. Yeah, I'll save this video. And so yeah, so maybe from now on will be more systematic. Yeah, Devaut, that's you're right. Okay, okay. Oh, सही है. ठीक है. We'll do that. That's good to know. And last question. Yeah, Ken. Gambling. Oh, the gambling has really touched you. Huh? Gambling be seen as a. Oh, no, I don't think so. Gambling is the most exciting thing on earth, and rituals are boring things. I think gambling is extremely exciting because it really keeps you on the edge and you are always exciting, and every time it is fresh, it is a new thing. It's as though you get a fresh surge of energy. Gambling is amazing. It's like you can keep going. That's why people like go and like put the entire घर property सब कुछ हरा देते हैं जुआ खेल के. So damn, I think gambling and ritual, those are polar opposites. You have given us an idea here. Huh? We can Sataksi, can you make a little meme next time? Please bring us a meme. I think we should use these electronic devices now. Can you make a meme? Sataksi, make a meme in which gambling is on one side and ritual, they are like really about to kill each other or something. Those are like extreme opposites. That's the kind of meme you want to get, Sataksi, in the next class. On Wednesday, some of us have class with Prem sir. Okay. Oh, Hitesh, good to see you here. Hitesh, took a long time. Aren't rituals also mechanical? Well, yes, ordinarily they are. I have a slightly different take here, but of course we will not go in that direction. But I think the original Vedic rituals were, I think, not mechanical. They were very real. They're not mechanical. But yeah, but otherwise, most rituals, what today we call karm kand and all, I think those are very mechanical. Uh, why do we do gambling in Diwali? Because it's a happy time, and gambling makes you happy. You know, you are in a you are lucid. In a festival time, you are very spontaneous. You're good. You are at your creative best. You can make big mistakes, but you can also be really clever and creative because your mind is relaxed and you are in a festival time and you are feeling nice. And I think gambling adds to that fanfare, and also this fickleness of life. Fickleness of life. What is wealth? What is property? What is money? They come and go. क्या लेके आए थे क्या लेके जाओगे? So just gamble. Gambling in that sense is a deeply enjoyable and cathartic in the best sense. It increases chances of bringing home Lakshmi. Yeah, bringing home or also losing Lakshmi, and that's the fun part. You might even lose and then just laugh about it. Yeah, what to do? I just lost it. I'm a poor man now. Just laugh about it. And that's the thing, bring home Lakshmi, but also lose it. And that risk that you are taking, that is the surge of energy, and that you will be really invested into that. You are psychically really into it, and that is the kind of immersion, that maybe, and that is the reversal. Who asked me the reversal question? I think it is this one only who asked me. Ishita only asked me, or somebody who asked me. And that is why the reversal can happen, that Benjamin is talking about. The reversal from the fascist aestheticization of politics can happen because there is that kind of a risk and the entire divine moment. And he uses the word divination, in that essay. Benjamin uses that word. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Ishita. So yeah, okay. I think chance also plays an important role in gambling. Yes, absolutely. Chance, this chancey world. Yeah, chance and risk, chance and risk. Well, not to, and today, as living in these times, every movement, every time you step out of the house is a gamble, and that risk. So somebody should take a risk and say, no, I'm going to go out and see whether this coronavirus is real, right? And then instead of just sitting at home and banging the thalis, let me actually go out. And that's the underbelly thing, that's where you will act as though you're part of the underbelly. You're semi-legal, you're taking a risk, you are coming out of your petty bourgeois middle class comfort zone, and really saying, okay, let me check out this. Maybe my body is resistant to this virus. I mean, nothing is proved so far, so I might as well step out and not care of all this news about the virus. So yeah, um, yeah. So we are saying then. Oh yeah. So Wednesday there's a Prem class, so we can do a different timing then. Should we do a different timing? When has Prem fixed his class? इसको 11 बजे से करो और क्या? Or we can do it Thursday. No, Wednesday is ideal for us. What time has Prem put his class? 3 p.m. Damn it, man! How could he have put it at 3? This is precisely the time we were selecting. So should we do 11? Let's do it at 11 in the morning. Shane, are you fine? Satakshi, Hitesh, are you guys all fine with 11 in the morning? Is Vasundhara here? Okay, there's one student who couldn't take the internal assessment exams. She was from Northeast Delhi. What is her name? Suhana or something. Is Suhana? She was caught in the riot. I think she lives in Northeast Delhi. Is Suhana here? So no, not Suhana. What's the name? Afsana. Sandra, where is Afsana? Is Afsana here? Yeah, that's what she couldn't give her internal assessment. But I think yeah, but she's not here. She can always, but she can come to for this online classes. So please send her a message. Um, so Okay, so let's do that then. So we'll do it at 10:30 because we are doing out of our own home, so we might as well do it at 10:30 on Wednesday. So okay, so that's about it. And please tell Afsana to come and others to be part of it. And so I'll try to save this, and I'll try to share it with you guys after I save it. No, Hitesh will do it at 10:30. You don't have to come anywhere, so we might as well. So 11 means in effect 10:30 because you can do it from. Why, Hitesh? You have a problem at 10:30? कहाँ से? So Sandra and Shane, but everybody, of course, please watch that film and and write a para or so, and just be my interlocutor when we start off for the next class. Right? So not 11. We'll do it at 10:30. Hitesh, 10:30. 10:30. We'll do it at 10:30. Huh? So that's fine then. We'll call it a day for now. Everyone, be safe. If you want to be a gambler, take a risk with coronavirus, and then you want to really tell us about about yeah, Aryama. Okay, so let's do that. And if you can go out and actually get us a, I don't know, a different view on this corona thing. I know people have. So who has already read Agamben on on coronavirus? So the link you have shared, the file on experience is of 8 pages. Is it complete? Yeah, it is complete. It is complete. It is complete. That is complete. Yeah. So experience and poverty. Please read that essay called Experience and Poverty. It's a very good essay. I already quoted from the beginning, today, of that essay on experience, the incommunicability of experience, storytelling, blah blah, all of that. Huh? So ठीक है then 10:30 Wednesday. Oh yeah, very good, Ishita. Tried reading Agamben. Very nice. Yeah. Uh, so that's very nice. So maybe we'll find time to discuss that. All these Agamben and other people. So okay, so let's end here, and please read the essay, and so that we don't lose momentum. That's why we're having it already on day after, and then we need to close this part and then get the Hannah Arendt and other perspectives, because we don't have too much time here in terms of the number of weeks that are left before your semester ends. So goodbye, everyone. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that, Ishita. Agamben and all, we can discuss that towards the end of the class. Okay, then. Take care. Bye.